Hello again, hope everyone had a good weekend. So, Monday night update. Just myself working on the car this week, so not as much done as I'd hoped, but still made a bit of progress, so I'll share that with you now. As you can see, we've had the rear bar off the car, and as we were saying in the video on Friday night, managed to get the bar mounts back to where they used to be when it was running. Minor detail, probably massively overkill, but it's just one of those things that if you know it's not right, it's going to be annoying. So as you can see, we've got the two screws either side of the bar mount and all at the rear below the tail light. So that tape and that is just on there to protect the paint at the moment. Now, the way we ended up doing it, after we put the video up on Friday night, there was a lot of guys that sent us videos and photos of AU Falcon Supercars without the rear bar on them. And there was two main ways of doing it. Now, if I grab this, one of the main ways, which we were originally going to go this way, is to get an aluminium bit around like that, or a square bit, it doesn't really matter. And that slides down the inside of the rear rail and sits there, and then your rear bar mounts to that flat surface. Now, originally we were going to do that, but we found if we did that, the screw holes would be too low and we'd have to make bits up to make it all sit up, and it just wasn't going to look pretty. Plus, there has had a few hits in the back over time and the rear rails aren't in the straightest, most square nick. So we decided at that point that we go back to the other most common way of doing it, and that is to mount some bracketry off the back of the boot floor. So if we come in under here, just to show you how that was all done. So you'll see here, so we're inside the boot, and then if we go under the boot floor, that's where we mount them up. So you'll see there, fabricated up some little brackets that I put some captive nuts on the other side, so you can adjust these and undo them and wiggle the rear bar around. All the holes are elongated without having to hold a nut on the other side. That was the other common way of doing it, so went that way. Plus it gives us the opportunity to make sure everything looks really neat and tidy, and probably not the extent you would do as a race car, but given it's a restoration, we want it to look as neat as we can. So that's all done. Use period correct bolts and everything. Again, probably just a bit of overkill, but we know it's right. So if I come out again, so that's all done. Got the proper washers and everything, which are on there. Need to find some that aren't black, but that'll do for now. As you can see, a lot of work to do to get everything all gapped up yet, but one other thing we did do, you'll see here there's a bit of a gap between the rear bar and the rear quarter panel. I just made up some nylon spaces just to get a measurement on those, that white piece down in there, and they'll be reproduced but made out of aluminium round, which is what they were back in the day. So got that far. Doesn't look like much, but there was a lot of messing around. I made 2 or 3 different versions of those, trying to get them right until I was happy. So that's all done. And if we go back, I also got the fuel cell out of storage. Now, need to make a few modifications to this, which I'm hoping to get underway this week, because we'll have to outsource this one. So as you can see, that's your fuel cell. That's fuel in on that side. If you have a look here, that's also a filler, but it's pointing backwards. What we need is for that to be cut off and pointing that way. Now, the reason for that, or why it's pointing backward to start with, is when it was a ride car, it was filled from the boot, and that's why it was changed. We want to revert it back to what it was as a race car for live pit stops. So if your fuel cell sits in the car that way, and that car's facing that way, you want to have your filler, one filler point there. So fuel in, and if we come around the other side, you've got this side, which will be a vent. So as fuel goes in, you've got to let air out. A lot of the new cars now run the oval Siamese system, so fuel in, air out. These were one left, one right. So we've got to get the fuel cell returned back to what it used to be. And your fuel filler fittings are just like that. That's just an example, which will mount up to the rear quarter panel. So we've got all that there. We've just got to service it all up and get it all looking like new again. So that was about it for this week. Hopefully have a bit bigger week this week on the car and make some more progress. And yeah, we'll push on, and as the information comes to hand, we'll share it with you, and hopefully another step closer to it being finished. So thanks again. We'll speak with you soon.